Let me go to Shamsul Alam Pantho, our international affairs commentator, to give the latest breaking news happening right this moment.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kanchan. There is a breaking news from the U.S. politics. I'll read it out here. A federal judge on Wednesday gave Harvard University a landmark victory in its fight against the Trump administration, siding with the Ivy League school in its effort to restore more than $2 billion in federal funding for research frozen by the White House. So this is not just the first. Justin.
China and Russia signed a landmark energy agreement to build a 30-year gas pipeline through Mongolia, delivering 50 billion cubic meters annually to China. It's a huge breakthrough, sir. How significant is the new Russia-China gas pipeline deal for global energy markets and Western sanctions policy?
Thank you so much for the question. Previously, we've seen during the winter seasons or during the end of the year how Europe was dependent on Russia's gas pipelines, which did come under attack historically speaking. But if you look at the Russia-Ukraine war and how India had been exporting this oil, now China has come in with this new gas pipeline deal. Of course, as you were telling me, I don't think there is a way that you can stop the Russian aggression, if you would call it, towards Ukraine. But President Putin does have a very clear message towards Volodymyr Zelensky. He says that he'd be willing to meet his Ukrainian counterpart should he visit Moscow. So that is a new power projection that is happening. But European allies are now very scared. As you see, Russia does have very powerful friends towards the east, especially China and North Korea, and how they have played in over the week in Tianjin summit and also the military parade that happened in Beijing as of yesterday. It just comes to show that this would be the first where the US has been seen very weak in trying to get to a ceasefire deal regarding this warfare.
Right, sir. Due to your profession, you have to watch every single issues, every single subjects. My question would be a little bit reference from Professor Dr. Amina Mohsin, because I really like the way she describes the situation. Do you think President Trump is moving so fast? He's doing so many unprecedented things, sitting on a president's chair in White House.
Thank you for the question. It's only been 9 months, and in the 9 months we have seen Donald Trump taking on institutions of higher learning such as Harvard, and not only so, he has imposed a tariff package for almost 70 countries, which now the courts are now battling Donald Trump, calling them illegal. Donald Trump is in a position to call the shots, but how far and what are the limitations of him calling these shots are a matter of a question. He is one of those leaders who enjoy the media attention around him, as Professor Amina Mohsin was saying, but it's not always supportive of Donald Trump and his policies. Right now, Donald Trump seems to be creating America into a military state as of his deployment of troops, not only in his own Washington, D.C. and also in Chicago and Baltimore to be followed, but there is a build-up in the Caribbean. Let me add on here that Secretary of State Marco Rubio has defended a continued military action against suspected drug trafficking vessels in the Caribbean, calling them imminent threats to American security. I am sure this is not something new. We have seen in the 80s and 90s this drug issue between Latin America and, of course, Central America. And only now there is a military build-up. 7 warships which have been headed towards the Caribbean. The USS Erie as well is a guided missile destroyer as well. And of course, there is a nuclear submarine which is also waiting below the waters.
Yes.
This only comes to show, even when in the entire planet, Donald Trump's administration is trying to arrive at mediation on various war fronts, he is also conducting, or if not, having confrontational means and events towards Venezuela and such suspected drug trafficking vessels.
Right, sir.
He is the center point of many world conflicts, in my opinion, but we must have to see how much he plays a role in the upcoming UN General Assembly. We know that it's happening later this month. How the world leaders will react to the United States, of course, on various impending issues. We've got Israel and the Gaza, and how you're going to give the statehood to a recognition of Palestine and statehood. The entire world is divided among just this debate.
Audience often ask us what's going on around the world. Why don't you discuss it on your show? Yes, we see something going on in China, something going on in Washington, but still ambush, military assault is going on from Russia to Kiev. I want to put this question to Shamsul Alam Pantho, our international affairs commentator who have deep study on this subject and regular studies. Sir, what's going on?
Thank you for bringing the matter of Ukraine and Russia. Right now, I just see that Volodymyr Zelensky's his rhetoric on gaining support from European leaders and, of course, the United States of America. That was all right in the initial days, if not in the first 1 or 2 years of the war. But if you look at it today, Ukraine has lost almost 35% of its eastern flank to Russia. It is in a very default position. The negotiation and, of course, Vladimir Putin's meet with Donald Trump and, Volodymyr Zelensky was not there, even though US did try to bring the two sides to one meeting, and it's still not happening. There is comments made from both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin about accusing one another, and what we know is that the Russian forces launched at least 408 attacks on Ukraine's Zaporizhia region. It's one of the eastern cities which has enormous energy significance. There is a reactor there that has an energy potential which Russia seems very effective on capturing. But it's not where Vladimir Putin is in question. As you see, world leaders are taking a stance, greeting him and understanding how Putin can once again re-engage himself with other world leaders, especially as he has been using this war for the last 3.5 years. But one of the things that Volodymyr Zelensky in Ukraine should right now think of is, should I concede defeat? It's a very big question.
Big question.
If I conceded defeat, will my country then make a massive leap forwards in reconstruction and economic benefit?
You see, alliances built on trust, dependency, trade, business, security, geography. This time we have seen America is losing trust and confidence of its European alliance, especially NATO members, because he has imposed 5% GDP to share for their own security. My question would be, how are Trump's foreign policy moves shaping America's alliances in Europe and also in the Middle East?
Well, according to the news reports, Donald Trump is now moving away from this effective and long-running war, 3.5 years between Ukraine and Russia. What it's going to do is it will make Europe very scared. They will need to rely on someone else to provide them this shelter, which if America moves out from this arena. And one thing I would want to relate back to, as a professor said, how the East has been rising in military development. You know, the parade that happened yesterday, China showcasing its military might of the People's Liberation Army, Air Force and Navy, and how technological developments have given them the upper hand in this matter. It definitely will scare the European nations. We've seen various reports of a drone landing in other European countries, whether or not if it was intended for Ukraine. But these are the security issues that Ukraine, that entirety of Europe is facing, and any day now other countries might be going in on the offensive with Russia. And let me just point out that Finland has the longest border with Russia, who has still remaining very so silent, is a NATO member as well. Definitely Finland does have to do a balancing act with the Kremlin, and early to say, but we can understand how America is trying to back off from this issue.